This is a little video of my 5-year review of owning a V70. Is it good or is it bad? So what I'll do is I'll go through the top 5 things I dislike about this car and the top 5 things that I really like about this car. So I'll give you a little background history. Is that this is Bev, my 2006 V70 P2 with a 2.4 140 horse engine, normally aspirated, 20 valves, 5 cylinders, and I got this to replace the V50 T5. There's actually a video or two further back of the exhaust on that, which was really good fun. So I ended up replacing the V50 due to space and sort of other reasons, sentimental reasons, but the main problem was the lack of space. The V50, based on the P1 flat platform, which is your Focus and a Mazda 3 siblings, is very small. There's not a lot of room in there. It's okay if you're on your own, but if you had any passengers, especially in the back, no joke at all. And also I'm 6'5", so getting in and out of the car is a consideration. So I was initially looking for an S60 or an S80, but friends were saying you need to get a Volvo Estate. Everyone associates me with the Volvo Estate, so I thought, yeah, really good idea, because I've had a few before, and once you've had an Estate, it's really hard to go back to not having an Estate. So I had a good search around, and it came up quite close to home actually, at a car dealer that we knew quite well. So I ended up buying her. The minute I got in it, or her as I refer to, the moment I got into her, it just felt totally different. The build quality is a lot higher on these compared to the P1s. They're still a good car, but there's a definite step up in quality on these, the way the doors shut and the just general feel of everything. So she was quite dowdy when I first got her. She's only a base S model, so not too many creature comforts, but this was specified with climate control and a trip computer, so a few useful little upgrades. And it's got the AW55 high-speed automatic with the torque converter lockup, so essentially a 6th gear, which I found to be a really good transmission. I've done a fluid change twice, just kept it running in good condition. So I know a lot of people hate automatics. I like either. I've had both, and for my driving situation, which is daily commuting of about 18-20 miles, a lot of it through city centre, I find the automatic is great. It's just less hassle, and it suits the nature of the car too, especially with the torquey engine. They work well with automatics. So I'll do the top 5 things that I dislike about this car, and then I'll do the top 5 things that I really like about this car. So the first thing I dislike is number 5 is fuel economy. It's not great, as you can imagine, with a large petrol automatic car, but it's not the worst. I'm averaging a lot of city driving, some motorway, fast road, around 24 mpg, which is not the worst. It's certainly not in diesel territory, but it is what it is, and I was fully aware of it. I didn't go out to buy an economical car when I bought this car. That's very low on my list of requirements, so it's not great. Also, the road tax is fairly high, as you can imagine, but I offset these two because being a normally aspirated petrol, it's not under a lot of pressure. It's a very relaxed engine. These engines are known to go 400,000 miles with maintenance and be utterly reliable. It's not a stressed engine by any means. Even the gearbox has an easy time, because that gearbox is used in the V70R with 300 brake horsepower. So with this one, it's just a walk in the park, really. Because everything is under stressed, it lasts longer, parts are cheaper, so I offset the extra cost of fuel and tax against it not being in the garage all the time or needing costly repairs, because Everything is very straightforward, so it swings and roundabouts really when you look at it like that. Number 4 on the list is the plastic headlights, which drive me absolutely nuts because I have sanded and polished and lacquered them several times and they still keep fading, which is a shame because they're lovely lights. I like the orange marker lights on them, on the facelift models, which I have contemplated putting the earlier pre-facelift class units in, but they aren't as nice aesthetically to me, which is a big thing. So, but then replacements are not cheap. You're looking £400-500 per light, which is not happening. So I've got a couple of spare sets, and I keep an eye out for other spare sets I can use to put together a good clean pair. Just keep battling with it. I have a little list here with all these plastic creaks on the interior. I've noticed with this one, it seems to creak more than the older, the pre-facelift models. To be fair, I've had quite a few of the trim panels off for running cables for dash cams and amps and things, so that hasn't helped. But the main offender is this bloody console, which creaks and rattles like mad. So at some point I'm going to go through and soundproof it with deadening and pads and try and cut down on the noise there. Another minor irritation is the rear view mirror, which buzzes a lot with bass and loud music. I probably haven't helped that too much because I do listen to a lot of loud music, but again, this mirror is actually coded to the car. It's got a loom running in and it's connected to the ECM, or one of the body control modules, which is infuriating. So that's on the to-do list to sort, which I'll get around to. I think the fourth thing on the list, well, the second, is the front suspension. Any P2 owner will know the maladies of P2 suspension. It eats them. Lower arms, bushes, top mounts, seems to be a constant thing with them. Luckily the parts are not expensive and these P2s are really nice to work on. On the whole, you know, the componentry access, bolts tend not to rust on them or seize, so in that regard it's quite easy to fix and it's worth it. But yes, the front suspension is a P2 bugbear on them, and the turning circle, which is about the same as a small village. So the way I've got around that is just either pick spaces that aren't as tight, reverse into parking spaces, and just do a 54-point turn instead of 3. And I think the number one bugbear for me with this car has got to be the handbrake. Whoever invented drums in discs needs shooting, not literally, and it's awful. I've had nothing but drama with the handbrake on this thing since I've had it. Friends who've got the V70s as well have had problems. I had a Mondeo years ago with the same system in it, and it was just a nightmare. So really do not like the handbrake in this car. Trouble is, I'm quite lazy because it's automatic and I park on flat surfaces most of the time. I tend to just stick it in park and not use a handbrake, so it seizes up over time, so it's partly my fault. So I'll have to make allowances for that. The top 5 things that I love about this car, going from 5 to 1, is the sound system is really good. Every Volvo that I've known has had a decent sound system, even from the factory. They're all different packages that you could get, different amplifiers and everything, but the Volvo have always had a good eye for a good sound system because they consider it as part of safety. If you're alert and you're listening to music, that's seen as a safety feature. So I have upgraded this one with a big subwoofer, an amp. I've got an amp under the seats that power the front speakers. There's 10 speakers in here at the moment. They've all been upgraded to the premium speakers that come off the S60 and the V70 SE models, so that makes a difference. Yeah, also the head unit, I did put a Kenwood touchscreen unit in when I first got it, but I've got a horror of touchscreens. I just can't stand them, especially in a car. I use them on the phone and home and everything else, but in the car I think they're an absolute menace because they're so distracting. You take your eyes off And also, being a bit of an audiophile, I like my CDs, so I wanted a CD player again, so I replaced it with this JVC, which sounds really good. In fact, CDs sound better than digital music in a lot of cases, and I can operate every single control in this car without particularly looking at it. All your major functions at hand. Ergonomics are fantastic in this interior, which leads me on to the thing I like the most. One of the things I like the most is the interior and the comfort. The seats are incredible. I do get a dodgy back being so tall, and whenever I'm in this car, it eases the back instantly. And I've never had a journey where I've been uncomfortable. Everywhere I go, I get to the end of the destination and I feel fresh and comfortable. Everyone that's ridden in the car comments on the seats, on how comfortable they are, and they are just great. They weren't originally cream, they were black cloth when I got the car, but as you can see from the photos, I've upgraded them. A lot of upgrades I've done on the car have all been OE that were available in the catalogue when it was ordered new, so not necessarily standard when I got it, but I've upgraded everything on the car over time to my standard, how I would have ordered the car if I'd ordered it from new. And the only thing I would have done differently exterior wise is the colour. While I like the titanium grey, I much prefer blues or reds, bright colours, so beggars can't be choosers. The steering wheel's been upgraded to a wooden one. I've got our leather dash console top, the blue R gauges. I've got the stalks off an XC90. I've got all the wood panelling off the V70 SE on the doors, glove box, centre console and the wooden blind here. I've got rear spoiler, upgraded wheels, exhaust and the R front bumper. The exhaust leads me on to any 5-cylinder owner will probably agree with me on the sound being the absolute heart of this thing. It gives the car so much character, and especially with this exhaust, it's really opened up Bev, so she's got quite a voice. Cold starts are quite growly, and I never get sick of hearing this engine talking to me. It is just a riot, especially when you put your foot down. It gives the car so much character. It's that bauble. Unfortunately, it hasn't got a turbo, but it sounds good considering. The next thing that I really like about this car is the versatility. Being an estate, a boxy estate, I've got roof bars, roof rails, and I've moved house in this car twice. Every trip to IKEA is a dream. There's never an occasion where I've never been able to get anything in the car that I bought or procured. This car is fantastic. And once you've owned an estate car, it's very hard not to own one because they are so useful in everything that they do. Styling, I absolutely love the styling on these things, the P2 family. In 1993, Volvo launched the ECC concept car, which was a turbine-powered saloon, showcasing the new direction that Volvo were going to go into, with the swoops, the curves, a totally different design from the boxy Volvos that we knew in the 700 series, 900 series, and beforehand. That translated into the S80 in 1998, which followed the concept car very closely. And when the S60 and the V70 were renewed at the end, in the late 1990s, the inspiration was taken from those. Ian Callum designed the car, and he did a really good job too. It's often rumoured that he grafted the front of a Aston Martin to the back of a transit van. Even today, this design is 20 years old, and it still looks good. It still looks classy. It just does its own thing, and it doesn't look like anything else on the road. you don't see many of them on the road either, and making of this video I've not seen another one, and I suppose it used to be quite commonplace. And in today's styling makes me want to cry with modern cars. They are so dreary, boxy, everything looks the same, everything's got big wheels, little windows, look like a blob on wheels, and I just can't stand it. The P2 still looks elegant in its own right. Like many cars of the late 90s, early 2000s, I think styling was at a high point for most manufacturers back then. They've all seemed to have lost the way completely for whatever reason, and it's heartbreaking. So I enjoy driving this car because it's still a good looking car, no matter where you are. You don't feel embarrassed driving it. I still get quite a lot of comments when I'm filling up with petrol or outside shops, people are asking about the car. Oh, I used to have one of those. I've had police nodding, and you know, I've had a policeman, he was passing, he was like, we used to drive those, they're amazing. And it's just a feel-good car. There's a quality of this thing that is just very appealing in so many ways. And even with this little engine, or the baby engine of the range, she's got quite a bark, especially since I fitted the exhaust, which was through necessity really, because the back box fell off about 2 years after I got it. The Volvo replacement was just ridiculously expensive and very heavy, so I ended up getting a custom stainless steel catback system, just 2.5 inches all the way through with a single back box, and it's really opened this car up, and the sound is one of the best things. She's got quite a bark. You never get sick of that fast little growl at all. The car talks to you, it's interesting, it's just so much fun. These P2s handle well. People are surprised how well they handle. Again, the philosophy of Volvos was that the car that handles well is a safe car. So they always made sure that the cars had good brakes, good suspension. The steering's a bit on the light side, but it's, you know exactly what the front wheels are doing, especially when the weather's slippery or in the ice. This car's very stable in the ice. I've been caught in a few situations where other cars have not been able to get up slippery areas, and this car in winter mode has just chugged along, and she feels very stable. The wheelbase on these is quite wide, and you can feel but you can hustle this car along the country lane and have a real hoot. Honestly, they are so much more fun than you'd think a Volvo estate would be, or should be. And it's a secret that quite a few people I know have found, and they also love their V70s or S60s in this family. A lot of people tend to hold on to them now, and oddly, I was going back to the running costs from before, this car is less compliant, and which is bonkers really. People keep saying, oh, you know, it's cost a lot, you know, on emissions and blah blah blah. It doesn't, it's less compliant. I find this car just a pleasure to own. I've had all the servicing of the usual wear and tear items. I've had 2 sets of discs, 2 sets of pads, numerous tyres. I did fit the Nebula alloys quite a few years ago, which looked amazing, but they turned out to be an absolute nightmare to own, in the fact that they're very delicate wheels, they're suspect to curbing, and cost a fortune to refurb because they're split rim design, and I just wasn't prepared to refurb them. So I ended up getting these Stentors, which are off the S80, off my friend Rich, and I had them refurbished, powder coated, and they just look really good. I didn't like them at first when I put them on, but they've grown on me quite a lot, and they look quite classy, because the whole aim of this car is not for sporty speed, comfort and just a nice place to be. I've got the sort of the wood, the cream to me is a sign of luxury. It was cream leather and wood trim was a big thing in the 90s for luxury cars. BMWs, Mercedes, all the big brands had it, and to me that's a period that I enjoy. And it's nice because not everyone likes the wooden steering, not everyone likes the cream seats, but to me I enjoy it, and really I suppose that's what counts. I never get sick of being in the inside of this car. It's so comfortable. It's just a joy to drive. I drive hundreds of thousands of cars as part of my job, and at the end of the day it's so nice to get into this car, drive her home, and she's a faithful friend. I got the car with 127,000 on the clock, and last week I clocked 192, and she's still going strong. Due a service, there's a few bushes need attention at the front, but overall I would jump another P2. And also another aspect of these cars is they come from an era where engineering preceded over profit. I think cars in the late 90s, early 2000s hit a pinnacle sweet spot of being engineered and built nicely. They were nice to drive, easy to own, easy to work on, which is the absolute opposite of new cars now. Everything relies too much, on electronics. Everything is controlled. You can't fix anything yourself. Parts are ridiculous. Everything is badly engineered. These cars came from an era when things were engineered to last. Even parts are easy to replace. Parts are good. So my method of thinking is that if you keep an old car like this running in good condition, it's passing its MOT, it's passing its emissions, you'll be more environmentally conscious because you are not throwing this car in a landfill. Because if I'd had a car every 3 years, in the lifespan of this car, I'd have had 6 new cars now. So there's all the carbon dioxide emission associated with building 6 new cars, and it's ridiculous. I don't mind EVs, they have a place. And for the circumstances, for people that do use them, they are great. But to me, I'm a petrol head, and I'll always want the noise and the sound of the car, and electric cars just don't cut it. And these ones that have got synthetic sound are just an absolute piss take as far as I'm concerned. So to me, keeping this car on the road, keeping it running in good condition is nice. And also, you're just something a bit different from everyone else. You're driving something that's come from a better generation. It's classy, it's different, because it's a Volvo. No one wants to steal them, and it's just a car that I just have fallen head over heels with, and I have no intention of getting rid of. And out of all the cars that I've owned, this is the one that's hit the sweet spot the most. It's not the fastest, it's not the most glamorous, it's not the most expensive, but it's just a good, honest car, and I absolutely love it to death. So I hope this video has been interesting. Again, it's all personal reflections and opinions, but it is what it is. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next episode.